Hey yo, and welcome back to the letter. We're still Ashton. I think we're probably maybe close to the end of his chapter, because usually all the spooky stuff happens towards the ends of people's chapters, and we had a pretty difficult QTE in the last episode. We just finished calling Zach, and we should be meeting up with him, and we haven't been able to get in contact with Rebecca, but she is getting choked out in the library. Alright, let's continue.
I'll be there in a few. An hour or two tops.
Thanks. I'll see you.
See you later. Relief washes over me as soon as the call ends. Normally, I don't let myself a moment of respite in times like this. Gotta stay alert. Rebecca's still out there, has yet to return any of my messages. But for the moment, I relish in it. This is probably the first time I've permitted myself to do so since last night. I'm trying to read and play tug-of-war with Butters at the same time because she won't leave me alone. Even the muscles in my shoulders have been complaining from all the tension I've taken on. It still annoys me that all I can do right now is grit my teeth and trudge back to Isabella's apartment. Butters, I can't play with you at the same time. Useless. That's what I am in the face of this. A mad dash around Luxembourg and Anslem isn't going to help things. It's not like I'll simply stumble across them on the side of the road during a drive. This city's too big. This city's too big a place for one person to go searching for only two people. I'll be lucky if I even glimpse the hair of either of them. With one last hopeful glance towards the open sky, I slip back into Isabella's apartment and close the door behind me. I might have already grown used to this, but the waiting will always be the hardest part. More so when it's the people you care about.
You're up early. I thought you left.
I didn't. This is not the first time I've seen Isabella like this. Standing casually by her kitchenette, a ladle in hand, keeping an eye on whatever's stewing on the stove, probably ramen, while humming a soft tune underneath her breath. 5 years ago, it has become a common sight after the three of them, including Zach and Rebecca, found a mutual interest in cooking. After that, whenever our schedules allow it, one of them will invite everyone to dinner or lunch instead of eating out. Rebecca prefers it that way, healthier, she claims. Zach's just too happy to be able to cook for everyone. Isabella, on the other hand, as long as there's food, she's happy. Me? I've been banned from the kitchen ever since the pressure cooker incident. Easier times, good times. Right now, however, the scene brings an odd sense of normalcy. A strange fit with all of the things going on around us. Not unwelcome, only bizarre, I suppose. Isabella doesn't follow up on her question earlier, but she does raise an eyebrow my way when I take too long to answer. For that I only offer a casual shrug in response and a short answer.
I've checked with Zach and Rebecca. I'm just waiting to hear back from them.
I'll add an a quip or two for her if the timing for a joke isn't off or doing so won't be inappropriate. It hasn't stopped you before. I don't want to alarm her either. There's no reason to, yet. Until Zach gets here or until I receive an answer from Rebecca, whichever comes first. Nevertheless, it's clear she has plenty of questions. It's right there, in subtle creases between her eyebrows, and the inquisitive gleam in her eyes. Curious as she is, though, she decides against voicing all of her questions out. Instead, she shifts her attention back to the stove and gestures vaguely with her hand in the couch's direction.
Well, if we're going to wait for them, don't stand around there. It's getting distracting.
You're just cooking. How am I distracting?
I don't know. Something might explode again, maybe. Zach's kitchen ban for you is also in effect here, you know. Now shoo, go. Stop hovering! You'll ruin the food. I'll be done here soon.
She leaves no room for an argument by swatting the ladle at me, and just like that, I've been kicked out of the kitchen. Left with nothing else to do, I drift back to her tiny living space and slump down on the couch. Closing my eyes, I allow the noise from the television to guide my thoughts. The ones I've been keeping at bay, freeing them from the cage I've built around them so I won't have to think. Same. One by one, they trickle back into my consciousness, each more frightening and unnerving than the other. So many things going on. So many things happening. The papers we've gotten from BRC doesn't provide any comfort either. Seriously, is there even a point to those after last night? What will asking those people do? If anything, this only proves there might be more copies of that dumb piece of paper. We have one here, but how many exactly are out there? More importantly, how do you get out of this stupid mess?
Ashton.
So does even distributing the letter save you, or you're just spreading it, and you still die? Damn it, I haven't felt this kind of bone-weary exhaustion in years.
I don't want to think what might happen next in case I miss something. Shit.
Rebecca, Zach, Isabella.
They're all depending on me, and...
Ash!
The voice snaps me out of my thoughts, abruptly wiping away every running racket inside my head. Suddenly, Isabella is there crouching in front of me when I crack an eye open. I haven't even noticed the exact moment when I've bent over, burying my head in my hands. Figures why she's staring at me like I've fainted or something. The crease in her eyebrow grows deeper at my lack of response. Although she's merely staring at me without saying a word, her expression says everything. So much for trying not to alarm her with bad news.
Sorry, I just spaced out for a moment. Don't mind me.
For a brief moment, she seems to accept that. Quietly, she shifts, stands up, and takes the empty space right beside me. Well, all done without a single comment. Then the next thing I know, she's gently pushing a bowl in my hands. The scent reaches me before I've gotten the chance to take in what it is she just handed me. A faint, sweet smell of cocoa wafts from the dish. What is that? There's a lot of food in this game. Calming, comforting despite the multitude of things bothering me, it certainly smells like a kind of food you'll eat on a rainy day. Is it like oatmeal? Though, from the get-go, it doesn't look as appetizing. What is this even? Porridge? Why would you put chocolate in it, and milk drizzled on top? She tells me my tastes are weird, and yet here she is handing me something equally as strange. In fact, she's already started digging in hers. I'm just not sure if the taste will be equally as appealing. What is it? Baffled, I glanced her way. She offers no immediate answer, simply continues eating as if she hasn't done so in a week, with her focus solely on the television. She's not watching, however, just listening. As background noise, the voices from it seem too cheerful, a welcome distraction, if anything. It's only after she finished half the bowl does she acknowledge the question in my eyes. With a sigh, she cradles the dish on her lap and looks down at it. Briefly, her lips part and then close. A hesitation, though I don't push her. It's probably something her and her dad ate a lot. There's a distant air on her, as if she's had remembered something that warrants a poignant thought. Then she speaks at last. It's in a tone too careful, like she's weighing her words, considering the proper phrasing for it. Yet sincerity underlies each syllable once they're out in the open.
You should eat.
Can you tell me what I'm eating?
Back at home, Mom would never let us leave the house if we hadn't eaten breakfast yet. Even Papa has got an earful when he tried. So eat. You'll need it.
She returns to her food afterward, while I can only stare at the one she's proffered not a few moments ago. Warm inside my hands, tempting me to take the bite. Not that I don't appreciate this, but what good will this do? Zach and Rebecca both out there. Who knows when that ghost will show up again? Even in our dreams, we're not safe. But that's it, isn't it? We don't know when, and at present, we have a chance at respite. Maybe the only one we'll have. Even if it's as mundane as sharing food between us, quietly. Just sitting side by side like this, without exchanging any words. The intent hangs unspoken in the air, something that probably goes as far back as the second she offered food. Still, in the end, Isabella never pushes it. Rather, she sits her own silence. Rather, she lets her own silence convey her hope. Whether I'll allow myself that break, she leaves it up to me. What does this have to do? Like, why is this a choice? I mean, just eat the damn food. She made it for you.
Thank you.
The words roll off my tongue, awkward and unfamiliar, far removed from those jests and quips we've shared. Yet she accepts this with a smile and nothing more, regardless of everything left unsaid. The sight of it brings comfort, more so than any generous offer food can give. Though we both lapse in silence after, we finish our food. Was it good? There's ease in it. In this is a muffled sound of Luxembourg filtered into the room. And the light streaming from her windows and the faint draft occasionally drifting in, catching the loose tendrils of her hair. In the way her voice falters when she tries to form words. And despite the horror looming over us, I find myself wishing for the minutes to slow, for the seconds to last. But ultimately, she's the one who breaks it, softly after a minute's pause and words mumble under her breath. Sometimes silence simply compels us to speak.
I've been wondering, before last night, before Mama told me the news, what if Papa passes away, despite everything? That sort of thing. I know it's not good to think about, but I also knew it was getting worse. Mama won't say anything, but I've always known that one day, he'll eventually...
She releases a sigh as her grip on the bowl she still holds tightens. There are no tears, but she might as well have them with how weak her voice falls. Are there even any left?
I don't know what I'm going to do. Before, I can easily say it's because of Papa. I don't have anything.
You have that scholarship from LuxU.
Were you going through my personal papers while I was sleeping last night?
No.
I don't really have to. You left it sitting in the open, right there on the table.
Like there's still anything to hide. She snatches it away from where I've placed it back earlier. Except there's no anger or annoyance in her face when she looks at it and rereads every line with a pensive expression. After a short while, she folds it neatly along the creases and sets it back.
I don't even know if this will work out.
You'll never know if anything works out. A lot of my choices don't work out.
Well, if it doesn't, what about that exhibit you've been planning with Zach?
Do I even have to ask where you got that?
Zach sucks at lying. You have no idea how easy he is to read. It was all in his face when I asked about it. And anyway, if that doesn't pan out too...
I trail off hesitating, measuring the weight of my next words. Genuine as they are, a part of me believes they're a burden, too heavy to impose upon her. Because no matter how much I want her to stay, we are not what tie her here. It'll be selfish to ask that of her. More than anything, her family will always come first. I say it nevertheless, if only to let her know that no matter what her choice will be, there will be people here whose lives her mere presence has changed. Mine most of all.
You have us.
The words startle her to a pause, and slowly she turns to me, her eyes wide, disbelief all over her face. But before regret forces an apology at my throat, her expression dissolves into something I can't quite place. Something distinctly softer, more tender, familiar. almost in the same manner she glanced at me years ago, that day on the bridge. However, I don't get the chance to figure out what it all means for her. All of a sudden, a knock breaks the moment, and just as fast, both our attention shifts toward the source. Before things can get awkward fast, I stand up to open the door while muttering some flimsy excuse in the process.
I'll get that. It's probably Zach or Rebecca.
Or the ghost! Really, I know we're in a pinch, but their timing can't get any worse. Unrelated frustration aside, once I fling the door open, a whole chunk of stone that had been struck in the pit of my stomach simultaneously unseats itself. There in the hallway stands Zach, his hand raised ready for another knock. Although he's not at his most presentable at the moment, ruffled and drenched with sweat as he is, relief quickly washes over me like a tide. He's still panting when he pushes me aside and heads in. The second his feet crosses the threshold, he scans the place, eyeing what little he can see of the room from the doorway. When he finds none of whatever he's looking for, he turns to me with a questioning look. One that has a hint of panic in it.
You said it was urgent. Did anything happen? Is it Becca? Bella?
Everyone's fine. Well, Becca's not here. She went somewhere this morning and hasn't answered any of my calls yet. But Isabella's...
I'm here, Zach. Morning.
His weight shifts at the same time. The stiff line of his shoulders eases once Isabella walks up to us and welcomes him with a smile. He relaxes then, returns her greeting in kind, as soon as he has let out the breath he has been holding and the tension finally off his body.
So, nothing's wrong? Why'd you call me here for then?
Family meeting. My explanation can wait. He has a lot of explaining to do. The fact that he went to Anselm alone, for some godforsaken reason, warrants a proper one. Ghost or not, he's already been given a warning. It frustrates me to no end this might be the plan he mentioned the last time we spoke. Well, no, he thought we were going over there. I get that he's worried about Hannah, right? Somehow. They've become friends, but that's not the issue here. Not when there's a murderous ghost who might go after one of us at any given time. Sure, Zach made it here in one piece. By some dumb luck, he's alright, but this takes one off the list of people I need to worry about. Frankly, as annoyed as I am, I can't just stay angry at him when I look at the situation that way. Hell, if that call didn't connect at that exact minute, there might have been a chance he won't be standing here. This is a blessing in itself. Though, first things first, something still needs to be discussed. Let's not be a dick. Except when I open my mouth, the only thing that spills out from it is my own relief. Despite myself, despite the rational part of my brain screaming everything's wrong about Zach's neat little plan. We've had so many close calls with just a single night, Zach showing up in Isabella's doorstep alive, whole and unharmed. I might as well take comfort in that while I still can.
You're okay.
You did tell me not to do anything stupid.
Suddenly the whole room feels too heavy, and all I am able to do is drop down on the couch. A headache also threatens to burst in at that same moment, or perhaps this is just what release from anxiety feels like. Regardless, I reach up a hand and pinch the bridge of my nose, even if it'll likely do nothing but alleviate the impending pain.
Christ, you were right there! We have this stupid curse thing going on, and you were right there! You just walked up inside a private property! Those people can easily sue you for breaking and entering, and that's the least of it.
I know, Ash. But I can't just leave things as they are. I've got to do something.
God damn it, Zach, I was worried!
Unexpectedly, he laughs. Not the half-hearted sort he makes when he's awkward or coming up with an excuse. A genuine one. Before my annoyance grows again, I snap at him, though he suddenly catches me in a headlock. His arms looping around my neck while he grinds his knuckles against my skull. Helpless, I squirm under his grip and protest. Even then, it's hard to do so when you're up against a 6-footer.
Zach!
Aw, he's worried. Why didn't you say so? That cool act ain't gonna fool me anymore.
Let go!
He relents soon enough, though only after he's done ample damage to my hair. I hate it when he does that. But for a few moments there, the tense mood finally lightened up after everything felt like how it used to be before this whole mess began. Makes appreciating little moments like this easier. Still.
Seriously, Zach. Why are you even there?
Told you already. I was looking for you.
Why would I even go there?
Well, you mentioned a plan with Isabella here. I assume that's where you guys went, since that's where she found the letter. Sorry. I was really at a dead end.
The logic in it stuns me into silence, to say the least. Because if you had just told him what you were doing, instead of withholding information like people do in these frickin' horror things. Then I remember his hesitance, the tone he has taken before agreeing to go here. And all at once my anger from what he's done wanes. Partly this is my fault for keeping things... Exactly! Keeping things vague. I can't berate him for assuming that, when I've only left him with vague answers.
You could have called me.
I did.
I didn't receive any, and my phone was with me.
You're kidding, right? I was at it the whole night.
The whole atmosphere in the room changes in 2 heartbeats. Back again to the tension-riddled one plaguing us. Zachary stares at me like I've grown another head, then gradually he shifts his attention to Isabella. The expression in his eyes questioning, asking for a confirmation, like my word can't be trusted. Not that I'm holding it against him. I can't even believe the things coming out of my mouth these past few hours. Meanwhile, Isabella stays quiet. Has been like that for quite some time. She looks like she wants to disappear right now. Guilt, frustration, anger, fear, all of it flashing fleetingly across her face before it melts away under the expression of worry.
Please tell me he's joking. You were there?
No, we really didn't get any. Everything was quiet last night.
Except for the ghost demon.
But Zach, at BRC, Ashton and I saw...
She never gets to finish that.
Sup, I'm Ash from Deluxe City.
Frickin' ringtone.
Looking for trouble? Better not
Abruptly,
lie.
my phone rings
Cool
again,
dude.
blaring
Pretty
its
fine
badly
for an
sang
Asian guy.
ringtone
Sup,
throughout the
I'm Ash
whole
from
room.
Deluxe City. Baggers, watch
It
out.
makes it so
Can't
hard to
beat me.
read.
Looking for trouble?
Both of them
Better not
pause,
lie.
waiting
I'm
when I
cool
pull it
dude.
up to check the
Pretty
caller
fine for an
ID.
Asian
Is it
guy.
Rebecca?
It's Becca.
Sup, I'm Ash from Deluxe
I'll tell her to
City.
get here as soon as she
Baggers,
can.
watch out.
Excuse me.
Can't beat me. Looking for
Without
trouble?
another word, I
Better
slip
not
out of the
lie.
room and answer the
I'm a
call.
cool dude.
However, the tone she assumes isn't what I'm hoping to hear.
Ashton, are you there?
Ragged, a bit out of breath. There's a tinge of urgency in it. Listening to her from my side of the line makes it seem like she's just run a marathon prior to this call.
Becca, where?
I got your message. What happened?
Nothing. Yet. Where are you?
Downtown, I had to make a quick visit to the library. Listen, Ash, about that thing Isabella has been talking about. There's something you guys need to...
Please tell me you didn't... Whatever. Save it for later. I'm at Salemwell. If you can get here as soon as possible, that'd be really great. This is... related to that.
You're there? Is Isabella with you?
Yeah, Zach too.
With a quick press of a button, I switch on the loudspeaker and step back into Isabella's apartment. I don't know why you left the apartment to begin with. I hold out the phone towards the two, give it 2 shakes, urging them to speak. Both are still carrying worried looks on their faces. This should ease that.
Rebecca's asking for you two.
Becca? Is she okay? Hey, Becca!
Hello, Rebecca. Odd morning we're having, eh?
Hey, you two. What's happening over there? Is this something I should be worried about?
Yes, there's a demon ghost.
We'll tell you once you get here. Please, hurry.
I don't like the sound of that, Ash. But I'm on my way. Give me a few minutes. I'm driving.
She mumbles a goodbye, then hangs up. Becca's the last person I need to account for, and yet that call left an even more strained tension in the room. Thankfully, we don't have to linger in it for too long. She only takes a matter of minutes to get here, and the second she steps into the room, Isabella clings to her.
I'm so glad you're okay. Ashton checked on you this morning, but... He did? I'm sorry. I was in a hurry. I didn't have time to drop by and let you know.
It doesn't matter. What's important is you're here.
Everyone's here, back together again. The gang's all here. Not burnt to a crisp or brutally murdered somewhere. Whole, alive, although she seems a bit shaken. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I mean, a little bit. It was because of the ghost lady. At least now I can relax, ease the pressure off my shoulders, if only by some. But the minute Isabella pulls away from her, she winces, a small reaction the younger woman didn't even catch. It sets a precedence for the careful observation nonetheless. A closer look at her reveals a much more disheveled than usual. Hair a bit of a mess, probably flattened in a hurry. The back of her dress also shows stains of dirt in places it rarely gets to. She's also leaning more on her left arm. She's right-handed. Perhaps the most telling of sign is the limp she has, noticeable once Isabella leads her into the room. It all sprouts a hatful of questions. What exactly happened and how she ended up in that state? Pretty sure a simple trip to the library won't do that. I grab her arm before she can walk past, carefully to avoid hurting her, in case there's really is an injury. Seems like it at first glance, but you can't be sure until after a careful examination has been made. I suspect some bruising at least. Although minor internal fractures aren't out of the equation, they have a nasty way of staying hidden. Sure enough, Becca tenses immediately upon contact. Tries to pull back, although the sudden gesture only elicits another wince, forcing her and Isabella to halt. Both of them turn to me almost at the same time, their eyes searching mine for answers. Rebecca, for her part, doesn't appear quite pleased with the interruption, or the fact someone has brought it to light. But that someone also has to make sure. Are you all right?
You okay? You're limping.
As expected, she tries to hide it. This time, when she squirms from my grasp, it's with enough force she almost stumbles back if Zach hadn't caught her by the elbow. Even with two more people shooting her concerned looks, she swifts to shrug it off.
It's fine. I just had a little accident.
Why are you lying? A little accident, hard to believe when her other arm's nursing the supposedly fine arm. Isabella doesn't buy any of it either.
In a library? Well, yeah. It kinda caught me off guard.
Why?
Something's happened there, hasn't it?
Why are you lying? Like, there's no point in lying right now. Like, everything's out in the... Well, they don't know about, like, Isabella and Ashton's stuff. But it's just, like, everyone's experienced something. Like, it's, like, you're here to talk about it. Like, why the fuck are you lying? I don't have to elaborate on the question further. Shortly, she goes very still, and a hand placed over her right arm shifts ever so slightly, its grip on the limb tightening. Not too firm to hurt, but just enough to gesture... just enough for a gesture of comfort for herself. Warily, she casts a glance at everyone in the room. But only the one she spares for Isabella lingers longer, and in that moment, something unspoken passes between them. An understanding. It strikes me seconds later how utterly familiar her expression is. It's the same one I've seen far too many times in Isabella. Since that day at the movie house, every time her attempts to warn us have been rudely dismissed.
Let me see.
Can we? We have to check if it's bad.
Rebecca hesitates for a moment. Then after a minute of consideration, she sighs and reaches for the hem of her sleeve, raises it just enough for Isabella to take a look at it. Not swollen, but a large portion of her skin is starting to turn an ugly shade of purple.
Oh, that is gonna be one hell of a nasty bruise.
Tell me about it. It was a library cart that hit me. You know, the old metal ones they keep near the history section.
Ouch! Like I said, nasty.
But she's there? She went after you. Yeah, I was in the archives, looking something up. Suddenly, she was just there. Well, she was using my own students against me. What kind of terrible terrible person does that?
I mean, she's not a person.
Oh, it makes my blood boil.
You should have just ran. That woman's not something you can hit with a book.
Well, she did.
Laugh it up, Ashton. I did. Then the bloody cart came out of nowhere. And you know what? If it weren't for a damn book, I would be dead by now.
Silence descends in the room as the gravity of that one word hits all of us. Dead. Another close call. Another one would have narrowly avoided. How long can we keep this up? We're bound to break at one point. No normal human being with the sane mind can last like this. It's a miracle Isabella hasn't cracked yet. After all, she was the one who found that letter. I've expected her to have caved in by now, yet her voice, calm and composed in the face of this, is what cuts through the thick air.
I'll go get a cold compress for that arm. You guys take a seat first. Ashton and I, we have a lot of things to talk about.
Yeah. Just stop lying to each other and withholding information. You're hurting each other. That marks the end of it. At least for the time being. As soon as Isabella returns and hands Rebecca the cold compress she promised, we get straight down to business. Surprisingly easy considering the rigid air in the room. Although there's some tense fumbling for our words at first, the whole conversation gains steam once what happened last night at BRC has been put on the table. All at once, everything we've brushed off, carelessly ignored, and rudely dismissed have been laid out, all for a close scrutiny. Zach's encounters with the woman and his dreams, Rebecca's close brush with death every time she appears, the dread, the fear, the terror she brings out, even if in the bravest of us. Everything. Because no matter how bleak this all seems, there must still be a way out of this. There has to be. Logic be damned. Or at least that's what Isabella and I would like to believe. Yet even the cold morning light shifts to the warm hues of the late afternoon and eventually night. None of this still makes a fucking damn sense. Darkness has fallen, but they're still nowhere near figuring things out. If anything, we're more at a loss than we've ever been before we even started this. The next thing I know, frustration rears its ugly head, and the sheets of paper I've been holding smacks the table harder than I have intended. The sound of it echoes loudly in the small room, and everyone simply falls silent. Along with it is a release of another long-held breath. Perhaps the 100th since this morning.
We aren't getting anywhere at this rate.
Don't just drop it. There must be something in this we aren't seeing yet.
What about Rebecca's information? It's an odd thing to hear from her. The very words I've been telling myself every single time I find myself facing a dead end. We can use a little of the optimism right now, I guess.
I know, but what are we supposed to be looking at here in the first place?
Well, you already looked through those files. You're the one that picked them out last night, right?
All of them? I'm pretty sure every person we've checked in there isn't necessarily involved. One client possibly died of old age. Remember, you found that dumb paper.
Not so dumb if it can kill all of us.
Very funny, Z-Man. Anyway, like I said, you discovered that paper right before the open house. No one else was allowed inside during that time. It's too broad of a scope if we include every single person. In fact, the only notable ones are C and Jean-Marie.
But if we're going to include them in the count, shouldn't there have been more than enough people to end this fucking curse already? How does this thing even work?
Yeah, okay. They went in and out of this place. But no, you still don't get it. What I'm trying to say about those clients is...
Maybe there's more than one of it. Even my friend, the priest from the cathedral. He's been acting strangely. There might be more than one of that paper going around that we don't know about. More to this. I mean, look at all this stuff Rebecca brought with her. Apparently our teachers have been lying to us all these years. So who knows?
Hey, now don't blame us. Blame the bloody books they wrote.
Quietly, Isabella reaches for one of the papers Rebecca has brought with her and carefully inspects the words printed on the page. A copy of an old newsprint, from even before the city had been founded. Her eyes narrows with each line of it passes, but lingers on the illustration of the noblewoman's servant.
Why do they have to keep this in the restricted section?
Rebecca merely shrugs at her inquiry, but her own annoyance seeps through her answer.
How should I know? I wasn't even aware we have archives that go as far back as this. This is before the city was even founded. As a matter of fact, if it weren't for Andrew's help, I wouldn't have gotten my hands on any of it. Maybe they didn't think it would be important to talk about it. After all, this is more Anselm's than ours.
That or some old bugger's hiding something.
Why else would these tell a completely different story? Revising what's written seems a useless endeavor on its own when you have nothing to gain from it. Thanks to those, we're also missing a lot of things here. All we have to go with is the mansion, the letter, and all the stuff selfish people have been keeping from the public. But what else? Somehow, even with all this information in hand, it still feels like there's something we're overlooking. At present, everything seems to point to where this all started. The Ermengarde mansion. Will bringing the letter back there fix everything? No. Fuck. How do I? The mansion's a private property now. Can't just waltz in there. I'd rather die before I even think of begging Wright to let me in and investigate the place. One thing's very clear after these last 2 days, however. We're not safe anywhere, and I have to act fast if I want to keep my own friends alive. We can't keep running away. Sooner or later, she'll get us. Before that happens, I have to put an end to this. Sighing, I stand up and stretch out the kinks in my back after several hours of sitting. We've been at this for too long. A break is needed. Time to let everything sink in. Or else we'll all burn out. I know I will, and it's another thing I cannot let happen when we're all counting on me. Like this. Albeit unspoken, it's in their eyes as they look up at me, waiting.
We've been at this since morning. We should take a break for a few...
Uh-oh. The rest of it never makes it out of my mouth as something heavy and grating sounds from the far end of the room. A harsh, booming noise rending through the eardrums of everyone in the room. All at once, the three of them are on their feet while I quickly palm for my gun on the table. However, before I can pull it up and remove the safety, the whole racket stops. Stillness descends in the room, and amidst the sudden hush, the four of us exchanged anxious glances. So much for a break.
Ashton, that might be...
Gather everything.
No questions asked, they waste no time getting to work piling up the documents we've been reading through. Even Isabella is unusually silent as she gathers everything in her arms, her own movements sharp and precise to keep furrow in her brow. A deep furrow in her brow. There's a fear, but something hardened and urgent overshadows it. But the moment doesn't last. Before we can even finish, another noise ups the tension already gripping the place. Suddenly the lights go out, and the wardrobe at the end of the room rattles, as if something inside begs for freedom. Cautiously, eyes glued to it, I take a step forward and release the lock from my gun. I'm no trigger-happy person. I'm not even sure if this will work on a ghost. But right now, its smooth surface against my palm with the trigger on my finger provides the closest thing I have to relief as I approach the closet.
Ashton, what are you doing?
I don't think that's a good idea. We should just...
Worried as they all are, they immediately stop as the slight raise of my hand. But the edge is there while they all huddle in the space between the door and the room. In case this goes south, whatever I find inside, they have enough space to run from their position. In 2 deep breaths, I've crossed the room and stood in front of the closet. Whatever's inside has yet to stop thrashing. Instead, it has now moved to banging at the door louder and louder the longer I dally. Another shallow breath. A glance at my companions. A nod. Something creaks. Then, in the next moment, I'm grasping at the handles and swinging the doors wide open to reveal... nothing. Right away, I parked the clothes hanging on, and still nothing. No ghost, no woman, not a single trace of whoever's inside. Confused, I glanced back towards my companions, only to see them mirroring the same expression on my face. The noise has finally stopped, but I'm still quite sure it isn't my imagination. Or maybe it is, and I'm just too strung up that my head's now making things up. But everyone else heard it too. Whatever the case is, we need to get out of here as soon as possible. This only confirms we aren't safe anywhere. Without bothering to close it, I moved back, steadily to leave the adrenaline now coursing through every vein in my body. In the next second, I'm barking orders and...
We should go. Everyone, we need to... Ah!
I'm sent sprawling on my back as something cold catches my ankle and yanks. Oh no! Do I need to push buttons? The resulting fall knocks the wind out of me. Panic wrecks my whole spine and the back of my head as it collides against the floor with force enough to dislodge my own brain from my skull. A moment lasts before stars fade from my vision, and then I sense it. Cold tendrils twisting around my ankles, the smell of vile rot assaulting my nose, nauseating, sickening. A foul smell draining every feeling in my body. The moment her horrid laughter, still as unpleasant and vicious as the last time I've heard it, reaches my ears, my eyes snap open. Perhaps it's just an experience. Kick her in the face! Your other foot's right there! I'm pointing at the screen as if, like, you guys can see me pointing. Or maybe my mind's still attempting to comprehend this. Regardless, the minute my eyes land on her, the whole of my body freezes. The gun in my hand turns useless as my grip on it slackens. So, like, does she have, like, a timer? Does she, like, wait every so often to bother them? Or just at the most inconvenient moments? It's in the manner her gaze bores on me, as say. The look of utter hatred and malice. I've seen it loads of times. From suspects, mostly murderers, who never regretted their actions despite being caught. This is the face of someone you can no longer reason with. And I know, the moment she laughs again and starts dragging me towards her, it's already going to be the...
Ashton! Snap out of it!
What do I press? Z? Spacebar? No. I can't die here. Not yet. The haze fades from my mind and instincts kicks in. Then and there. Yeah, kick her!
Everyone out! Get out! Get out of here!
With one powerful tug, I yank my foot out of her grip and scramble back to my feet, ignoring the piercing wail she fills the room with. Oh, that's it? With the span of a second, I'm gunning for the door, grabbing the wrist of the first person my hand can reach, and leading everyone out. Into the hallway. Down the flight of steps, and right inside my car. I waste no time flooring on the gas pedal the second the last person closes the door, and behind them, and in a short while, I'm driving us out of Salem well. I don't even entertain the thought of winding down just yet, even as the last one of the woman's painful cries fades into the night. Who'd I grab? Was it Isabella, or Rebecca, or Zach? October 31st, Monday. A dreary downpour starts off the Monday. Although it doesn't last for more than an hour, the dark clouds lift just after the sun peaks over the horizon. Brief as it is, the rain has significantly dampened the park's usual cheery vibe. Mornings like this often mark the start of another bad week. An arrest gone wrong, another investigation leading to a dead end, or some truly fucked up shit being called in. Like that one time I was dispatched to a scene where a guy gouged his own eyeballs out and almost ate it. Gross! Was a few chews away from swallowing it, in fact. Lost my dinner that day.
Fun times.
Of course, I doubt anything can stop getting cursed by a damn chain letter of all things. This is the sort of stupid thing people pass along as a prank through emails and text messages, for fuck's sake. A ghost chasing after you just puts the icing on that cake. So far, all we've done is run, snoop about, read stuff, and run again. Frustrates me to no end how we're still no closer to an answer. Even my car reflects the state my mind is in. Photocopies of documents litter every available surface, scattered all over the place, spilling from the passenger side into the back seat, making an entire mess of what little space there is. Not that I'm any better. My last shower was 24 hours ago. I haven't slept at all. My last meal was that chocolate porridge thing Isabella offered. The way I am now, I'll definitely be getting a scolding. Rebecca will definitely give me an earful and tell me to take care of myself better. Say that I'm killing myself on the job. Oh, a lot of updates. I can already hear Isabella complaining how dark the bags under my eyes are getting, and about how I reek, and how I need to shower pronto.
I can rest easy when this is all over.
It's not that I can't feel the pangs of hunger. With that woman chasing after you, it's difficult to feel anything other than horror. The rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins in my desperation to survive. In fact, I can still sense the ghost of her touch from last night. Her bony digits wound tightly around my ankle and that horrid smile she has on her as she pulls me closer. The memory is enough to send a shiver up my spine and make me antsy. Perhaps the only thing comforting about this is the sight of my gun nearby. From my dashboard, sunlight glints off Ophelia's surface. You named your gun. Normally, I keep it hidden in a compartment. Luxembourg police regulation only allows authorized people to carry firearms, and even those are limited. I do have that authorization, but I never really saw the need for its use, when the standard issue taser are more than good enough to incapacitate anyone. If not, I can always throw them on their back. Those judo lessons Dad forced me to get as a kid has its uses too. That's probably gonna come in later. On a ghost, though, all of those will probably yield the same result. They're all useless. I might as well use a stick. However, it's the feeling of ease I'm after, or what little of it I can gather from it. The awareness that I, at least, have something to protect myself with in case things go wrong. That I can still protect the people who are still depending on me despite the misstep I've taken. It doesn't take the edge off, though, the feeling that your whole body has been strained far beyond its capacity. Frankly, I'm already running out of steam. The only thing pushing me right now is knowing someone's still depending on me. My stretch is still in order, though. I've been sitting here since last night. Soon I step out from my car, closing it behind me. With a thud, I take in my surroundings. Where's everyone else? The rain did wonders. The morning air feels crisper and cooler than it's ever been in days. For once, the weather seems to be taking a turn for the normal. Luxembourg normal, in the distance beyond the building, lining the horizons. Dirt clouds are blowing in.
A storm might be due this evening, give or take.
A shame for the people looking forward to a Halloween night. I'm just not sure whether this is something I can look forward to as well. Still, I can bask in the change it brings. Inhale, exhale, breathing in, taking in the peace as if it'll be my last. But as with all good things, the quiet shortly comes to the end. Not necessarily a bad end. The chatter reaches my ears first, halting my movements. Sure enough, when I glance up, I find them, Zach, Rebecca, and Isabella, just as they've entered the park grounds, bags of convenience store food in hand. After last night's flight from Salem, well, we've elected to stay the night here, unsure if our homes will be safe. Normally we'd all be adverse to the idea of spending the night outside like this, but panic and distress has tainted that decision. It's not like any of us has gotten an ounce of sleep anyway. On the off chance one of us did, it only lasts about a second. Or it's a fitful one. But looking at them right now from afar, it's easy to mistake them as just a group of friends on a day out. Isabella's gesturing wildly with her arms as she talks. Something funny or amusing. Probably because as soon as it's followed by Zach's booming laughter and Rebecca's giggles. Their voice filled the atmosphere with light air temporarily, easing off the disheartening mood. It's easy to pretend we're not knee-deep in a life-and-death situation the way they're acting now. If anything, it's only their appearance that betrays that mask. Slightly disheveled, bags under their eyes, an exhausted curve of their shoulders, and dragging footsteps. But the closer they get, the more obviously these signs are to the naked eye. Zach tosses an energy drink my way the moment the distance allows it. Isabella hands me another bag she's holding before seating herself on the edge of the fountain. The scent of warm food immediately wafts from the bag when I open it, carried by a passing breeze. Whatever sweet sauce they drizzled over the pork wannabe. Is that what it's called, or is that like a made-up thing? It smells heavenly. Hell, even the sorry-looking vegetables seem appetizing. Despite myself, without even checking exactly what this is, hunger swiftly takes over every rational thought. I dig in without waiting for them to start. The rest of them appear to be in the same mind too. Soon enough, they also start with theirs. No casual talk while we fill our empty stomachs, exhausted as we all are. Food is something we can't forego. Starvation dulls the thinking, weakens the body. If we are to survive this, we're gonna have to take care of ourselves first. In a matter of minutes, we're done and dumping the empty cartons on a nearby waste bin. Although, with it is the shift in the mood. Back to dismal. Back to the problem at hand. The comfortable atmosphere from minutes ago was nice while it lasted. Admittedly, I've missed these kinds of moments between us. Whenever we had the chance, always busy with some project or work, the things we've taken for granted, now we're realizing how valuable they are. The world has an awful sense of humor. While the one we've just had is short-lived, it's another thing I want to look forward to. If we ever free ourselves from this damn curse, I'd like to believe there is a way. For now, we have to focus back on the present. This. Dead people. The letter. The curse. It's not simple to bring these up, but necessary.
What now? Where do we go from here?
You telling me, girl? It's not a question directed at anyone in particular, but they all look to me as if my face has all the answers in the world. I used to think so back when I was at the top of my game, and I'm still sure of everything. Now there's just uncertainty, sullying whatever decision I come up with. At some point, logic has simply stopped working here, and we've started grasping at straws. Along with exhaustion, fatigue, and stress, we've had enough kindling to get a fire burning. Ooh, interesting. The not-so-pleasant kind of fire.
Well, first, we can't just stay here. That much is obvious.
But we can't just keep running like this either, Becca. Sooner or later, she'll...
As if we have a choice. We can't even go back to our own homes because that thing might get us. Nowhere safe. But dying is the last thing I want to do right now, Isabella.
Don't be a fucking bitch. Like, I know you're stressed and angry, but it's not her fault.
Not to a stupid chain letter. You were too gullible to pick up, bring with you, and show to everyone.
She wasn't gonna show everyone. You guys grabbed it and read it with your own volition. Do not blame her.
I didn't do it on purpose. Becca, had I known, I wouldn't have...
Hey, you two. None of us want to die to this. Just calm down. We ain't getting anywhere shouting at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Whose side are you on, Zachary?
Not yours, bitch.
No one's. But we can't just say it's her fault. She did warn us not to open it. And both you and Ashton...
That doesn't exempt her from any blame. She's still largely responsible for it.
Oh, so you just don't want to be responsible for anything, Becca? Anything that you do in your life? Everything is always someone else's fault? Ashton not liking you is Ashton's fault? This whole situation is Rebecca's fault, even though you could have just been like, okay. You didn't have to read the letter. You didn't have to be a bitch to her from the beginning. You didn't. The only good person here is Zach.
And you're not? I didn't say that! Do you really think I don't blame myself for this as well?
Well, you're not acting like it. You're shouting at her.
I tried to warn all of you. None of you listened. Now you're blaming me for something I kept telling you guys since day one? You're just as responsible for this as I am.
So now, you're throwing it back at us. We wouldn't even be having this problem if you're...
Oh my god, Rebecca, you're the worst. I hope you die. I hope I fucked up my choices.
Will you two cut it out? This ain't the place for, I don't know, petty squabbles.
Yeah, Zach.
If you don't want to get caught in it, then stay out of this, Zachary.
No, she doesn't want to be in this conversation either.
Oh no, Zach. Don't stop her. Let her say it. I'm sure she has plenty more to say. If I didn't know any better, she's already.
Already what? You want me to say it? Out loud? That I find you in this whole thing?
All right, that's enough! Everyone, shut up!
They all falter to silence at my words, and an awkward, stiffening mood descends between us. I do not mean to shout, or to snap at them, to add to that kindling, not in the moment when any time, anywhere she might get on to one of us. We're all in the same boat, yet here we are playing the blame game. This is not the time to be doing that, bitch. Little by little, we're falling apart, caving into the pressure. It's the bleak situation we're trapped in. Did that ghost mean for this to happen? To divide us? To divide each of us so she can pick us off one by one, right after? Who knows? Anything's possible, now, if her kind can exist. With the fire burning between us, rising as high as it does now, I'm afraid. Deathly afraid that the possibility might come sooner than I can figure all this out. Fuck, I still can't think straight. I can't even believe the next words coming out of my own mouth. That out of everyone, I have to be the one saying these to them. This is more their forte than mine, keeping the peace, placating everyone, while I unintentionally aggravate people with badly chosen words. Funny how fast the tables have been turned after just one unfortunate incident. How am I even supposed to cope?
If we all want to get out of this mess in one piece, we're gonna have to cool our heads first.
Before my own temper flares, I walk away and slide into my car. If the door slams with more force than needed, I like to blame it on the pent-up anger boiling up in me. I'm not even sure what or who I am angry at. A ghost? At them? Or maybe myself for being so useless. Because despite none of them saying it, I know, goddammit, they're still counting on me. Oh, and we're counting down to the end of this series. I feel so close. But I am out of time for this episode. We're running over an hour. I'll cut this down as much as I can. But hopefully we're reaching the end of Ashton's... Oops, I didn't mean to press it. I pressed spacebar by accident. But hopefully we're reaching the end of Ashton's chapter and we can slide on into Luke's and get this over with. But thank you guys all for watching. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe, ring the bell, share the video. Help me reach my goal of 2,000 before my birthday in December. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!